Now, what are we going to do about the fact that not every question gets an answer that reveals a knot? That's a problem from level one. You can ask a question and you get, I don't know, or you get a non sequitur, or you get irrelevant information, or the client goes off on a tangent, or you get an answer that's totally not what you were expecting. So then what? What do you do when it's like confetti and you're like, oh, fuck, I don't know what to say at all. I have no idea what to do. That is where the motivation becomes the secret tool to everything because there's always a question that can be asked there. So sometimes the clients are excited, sometimes they're looking forward, sometimes they do know why they're there. Like, I have to be in a wedding in a year and I need to lose this weight, so I can wear the dress. Very often, the clients are clear on their purpose, but they don't know how to get there. Not everything is about problems. So, this is why we're here today, is to talk about the rest of the time. This girl looks a lot like me, but she's not me. But she's wearing her reindeer glasses because what she's telling everyone is you don't need to just solve problems. You can also motivate. You can also have fun with the client's rest of their life because they're not just their problem. They have other interests. They have an other persona as well. So that's what the course is about today. How to use that. Gilles already helped me to kind of explain this to you when we talked about root cause versus unconscious payoff, but let's look at it again. Client has a pain, right? That's when they come to you with. When they reveal why they have that pain, usually we're doing ACH. We're asking them to dig into the problem. So, as we said, this is a uh, backwards moving project. It's always looking into the past. At some point, that examination of the past may or may not reveal a solution. The converse of that, or let's say the correlate to that, or what's coextensive with that, is the pain can also lead us into some decision to get out of this pain. But how do we get there and actually complete it is we need to use some kind of motivation. The motivation is looking forward. So we're always in this place here in the sessions, which is I have more than one option, but I have kind of two directions that I can go. Backward looking into the therapeutic Q&A or forward looking into the motivational possibilities. As we can see, these are connected, right? Because depending on where the client goes and how much talking they need, they might circle around this more than once. They might circle around this more than once. They might do one of these and three of these. They might do one of these and three of these. We don't know. But that's the whole thing is we don't always need to be caught in the blue. Now we have more opportunity to move around. Let's talk about what it really sounds like because it's simpler than it sounds, actually. For example, I want to get healthier for my kids as they are my life. That's something somebody will tell you on a discovery call. Why do you want to lose this weight? Well, I want to lose weight so that I can run with my kids this summer. Instead of tell me more about why you have that problem. When did that problem start? What is that problem costing you? Which would be the direction of 101. Instead, we're going to ask them something about what they volunteered their goal is. Oh, so you really want to get healthy for your kids as they are your life. What do you mean they are your life? Do you see how that's an extension of motivation rather than an untying of a knot? This is exactly what you would want to do, not only in the session, but especially on the discovery call. Oh, so tell me more about your kids. You can even ask a more simple question like, how old are they? You know, is it a boy or a girl? What do you like to do with that kid? Do you see how casual that is too? Do you see how unobtrusive that is? Nothing to do with how did you gain the weight? How long have you been overweight? What do you like to eat? What times of day do you eat your shitty foods? How much is that costing you? Is it worth changing? Is that important to you? It's like you can really go far with that in a very small amount of time, but it's painful. But this is so much easier. Oh, so your kids in your life. How old are they? Oh, that's nice. What do you like to do with them? What did you guys do last weekend? Was that fun? You want to do more of that? What do you want to do with them in the future? You see how the feel of that is so different? Do you see how much more gentle it is? More tender? More mama soul dog? It has none of that. Well, tell me now. So what does the client say back to that? Well, if I'm healthier, I can set a better example for them. And then what does the client say after that? But I just struggle with healthy eating and I feel so disappointed in myself. I really want to eat that cake. And then what do you do when you hear them say, like, yeah, it would be so fun for the kids. I really want to. I really want to take them to Paris next year and be able to walk up the Eiffel Tower. But I love cake. Then what are you hearing when you get that, oh, but I love cake?
Or not.
What are you, pardon? A not,
Uh,
right? Exactly. And what would you do, Jill, when you hear a not?
level one.
Exactly. So how will you decide based on the client's response if you do a motivational direction or an untying of knot direction? How do you decide which to follow?
My first instinct is there's disappointment there, so there's the bringing up of a negative emotion. So that would
Yeah.
make me go towards the past
Okay.
rather than towards motivation.
Right. And how did you know which one to use?
Because there was the mention of a negative emotion. I
Right. The client.
struggle with healthy eating and feel so disappointed in myself.
Exactly. So the client said, oh, well, the motivation was good for a moment there and I got excited, but I still have a problem.
Mhm.
Exactly.
They're highlighting it for you.
That's it. So that's exactly the process is, oh, look, a motivation question. That was helpful. And then the client reveals another problem. Okay, now I have to untie this knot. But maybe this client wouldn't have said, I just struggle with healthy eating and I feel so disappointed. Maybe they would have said, yeah, and there's a birthday party coming up that I could, you know, be the whatever for if I lost the weight. Then I can just ask another motivational question. Oh,
Mhm.
so when's that birthday party going to be? Oh, well, what do you want to wear for that party? How's that going to feel to you? So it just depends on what she says back to me or he says back to me. If they say something like, yeah, let's build on that motivation. That was cool. I'm going to build more. But if they say to me back, yeah, but you're not listening to me. I have a problem. So that keeps me from my motivation. Then I know, okay, if I keep motivating, I'm just going to piss them off. So I'm going to go back to untying. So now you're starting to have a menu, right? It's very different than just untie, 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 untie. Now it's like, oh, I have options. I can have a more genuine conversation based on real life things. That's what we're going to be practicing for the next 2 days. That skill right there. That's what I just said. So now you have a much wider range of questions. You have a much bigger menu. I'm going to give you more categories and more theory on this menu. But for now, I just want you to think about expanding the menu in terms of I don't always have to solve a problem. I can also ask questions that lead the client towards their goals. So this is the ultimate goal of learning level two and level one, of course, is you become a master of knowing when it's going to be motivation and when it's going to be untying of knots. So that every conversational, natural, therapeutic becomes motivational and healing. Over time, you'll control it in such a way that the clients will become so motivated to hire you that they won't realize that they're solving problems. That's the MOS of the MOS. I love it when the client says to me, oh, I feel so much better. When are we going to do the hypnosis? That's the MOS of the MOS. When are we going to do the hypnosis? Well, you said the problem is gone, so what would we do hypnosis for? That's exactly the goal. The client doesn't know that they're untying their own knots. It's the ultimate bypass of psychotic insight. And it's the ultimate bypass of you having to worry about how to get there because you're going to do it all through client-led indicators of, oh, that's exciting and I want more motivation, or, oh, that's a problem and I want it untied.
And I guess you return back to the importance of the discovery call because, like, as you said that, I'm thinking if I was a client, and I guess in my head, there's an expectation of what hypnosis looks like, whatever that might be. You've clarified what it looks like for you in the discovery call. Because my thought is, well, if I didn't think you did hypnosis, well, now I'm expecting the hypnosis, where I'm just out cold or whatever the expectation is. But I know that you talk about that in Discovery Call because I've seen it.
Exactly.
And that's why it's important to set it up that way.
Exactly.
Because if we didn't do that work and they said, wow, this is great, I'm so excited, but when are we going to do the hypnosis? There'd be a level of disappointment there because it's like, but you, whatever the expectation is. Well, you didn't wave a watch in front of me, or you didn't tell me to close my eyes, take a deep breath, and from my toes all the way up, kind of stuff.
Yep,
But you
exactly.
set it
That's
up in a discovery call.
You got that exactly right. And
Okay.
again, now we're back to why this level two skill is the skill, because this is what the discovery call is made of. Is that kind of casual conversation where I'm using this level two skill to just ask the client why they're there, what would be fun about this, what do you really want out of it? And based on that kind of banter, I can also prepare them for the session, for the result, for the ultimate conclusion, which is them giving me a review. All of that I've already stated is going to happen in the discovery call. And the only reason I can get away with that is because I'm using this level two chatty motivational skill.
So do you do it in a playful way? Like if they were to ask that question, wow, that felt so good. So when does the hypnosis
Exactly.
start or whatever? How do you answer, like, what do you respond?
Well,
Like, is it a playful way, like, well, we've been doing hypnosis the whole time? Or like, how would you answer that if
well,
that was
the
the question?
The first question I want to answer is, do I do it in a playful way? And the answer is absolutely. Everything is playful, including your trauma in a certain way, not in a mean, like I'm
Yeah.
dismissing it way, but everything is motivated for me from the point of view of, well, what's going to happen when this is over? So everything has that kind of somewhat lighthearted feel to it, which exactly is what you said differentiates from a therapist who focuses on the problem. If you're focused on the problem, then you're never going to bring that fully lighthearted feel to, well, life sucks and everyone has problems, but what are you going to do with that? Which is my feel. That is the hypnotic feel, right? So partly, I just want to say absolutely the answer is always stick with that as much as possible without being disrespectful. But the answer to the question of like, well, what do I do when they ask me that is I always just come back to, well, how do you feel? Which
Feel
is
great.
which is ETM. Emotional
Uh,
transfer method. How do you feel? And what are they going to say if they just came through a session with me and they never got hypnotized, but their problem is resolved? They're always going to give me the same answer, which is something like, I feel weird, I feel, high, I feel funny, I feel confused, whatever it is, and then I just utilize that. Well, did you expect to feel that? And then they're going to say something like, no. Okay, well, maybe that's the hypnosis then. Or sometimes I just bring their attention to the hypnosis, which is like, I can feel it in this room. Can you feel it? I can feel the sentiment of it. I can feel the starry stars in my eyes, which is how I feel hypnosis, by the way. I'm being genuine. And then I say to them, do you observe anything? And then they'll say something like, yeah, that's true. I do feel that. So I just bring them back to the feeling of it. Like, where's the problem? I don't know where the problem is. Well, where did it go? I don't know. Okay, well, do you think the hypnosis had something to do with that? Maybe. And then they're like, oh, that's weird. Maybe it does. So
and again,
everything,
we can reference back to the discovery call. Remember, we
exactly.
talked about this in the discovery call.
That's right. Everything is utilization, remember? Everything is
Mhm.
utilization. Any answer
Interesting.
they give me, I'm going to take it back to that's what we talked about. That's exactly what we were expecting. I already said the problem was going to go away one way or another. Exactly.
Okay.
So bring it back to how they feel. And also, as you said, rely on your preparation. Good questions. I like those. Okay, so should we do a little example? Oh, yeah, my images. So, based on this combining level one and level two motivation and therapy, the the sessions feel different to me. Sometimes it's like this. This is the feeling I get is like, oh, I'm just flowing through this person's subconscious and their motivation is like pulling me. Sometimes I feel more like, oh, we're floating around. It's not, doesn't have a lilt to it. Sometimes I feel more like the motivation is just like, and they're like, lift off, let's go. Sometimes I feel more of this logical client where I'm like, problem, 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 ACH, ACH, ACH. Sometimes it's more like that logical client. And I know it's like a little hard for me to explain what I feel through images, but I just want to show you like this is very different depending on who you're sitting in front of. Some people are way, way, way on the motivation scale. Some people are way, way, way on the problem solving scale. I had a Russian lady recently who was doing rage. Well, that girl she was just so logical. She was just so categorical. She was all therapy. So to me, she was like so much of this. But then sometimes I have a client who's like, oh yeah, I feel much better. Oh yeah, that's great. Oh yeah, that's good. Okay, yeah, problem is gone. Okay, boom. That's fine too. So, whatever this is based on the personality, character, and the genesis of the client's problem. And there's like millions of pictures I could put here. But the point is now you can do any of those. Now you can go to any of those images or places. So it's like a menu where you can fill your taco with whatever you want. That's why I have the taco picture here. So it's like pick your own, like when I put out stuff for the kids and they put their stuff in the tacos on their own and I don't have to worry about which one they pick. That's what this is now too. This journey with motivation has much more possibility, more places to go.